Hi, my name is Izzy Sabatino, and I am the summer intern at Strong Schools, Maryland. One of my projects this summer has been working to transform the often hard-to-digest raw data published by the state into a series of interactive data dashboards separated by blueprint pillar and accessible for the general public. In this video, I am going to take you through the dashboard for Pillar 3, College and Career Readiness. The first section of this dashboard I want to discuss is the map here, which shows us the rate of students tested in purple. This rate is the percentage of students in a given demographic who took an AP test out of all students in that demographic within each district. The colored dots represent the passage rate of each demographic group across districts. By overlaying these metrics, we can see clearly that both vary widely by district, as does their relationship. For example, looking at the economically disadvantaged student group and comparing two districts, Montgomery and Wicomico, we can right away see sharp differences in outcomes by noting the differences in coloration. By hovering, we can more specifically see that in Montgomery, 2.7% of this student demographic took an AP test, with a passage rate of 52.7%. By contrast, in Wicomico, only 1% of this student demographic group took an AP test and also had a lower passage rate at 31.7%. To investigate this further, we can next refer to the district-specific demographic breakdown seen here. So, in Montgomery, we can see that economically disadvantaged students have a relatively low passage rate, as seen by the darker coloration compared to other student demographic groups. On the other hand, the majority of Montgomery County's tested student demographics are achieving passage rates well into the 70 to 80% range, seen in the blue coloration of these student groups, raising questions about the reason for this specific demographic group's lower rate. Switching to Wicomico, economically disadvantaged students' passage rate is again among the lowest across demographic groups. However, the passage rate for every demographic group also appears lower than we observed in Montgomery. Notice the greater amount of reddish coloration across student groups. So there is generally less disparity between demographic groups' passage rates in this district. This is just one example of how to examine differences between districts and student groups using these visualizations. Moving to the bottom right, we have a graph of the relationship between career and technical education, CTE, University System of Maryland Success, USM, as measured by the percent of students meeting state program requirements, and the graduation rate of each district. This graph shows us that very few districts are yet to be proficient in both programs, as can be seen by no districts being above the average line in both categories. The low rates for CTE, an average of 18%, are especially notable, as these programs are a cornerstone of this pillar of the blueprint. Finally, high proficiency in just one of these programs, if anything, shows an inverse relationship to graduation rates. We can see the reddish pillars, which signify weaker graduation outcomes, concentrated at the top and bottom of the graph. As of now, being more equally adept in the two programs is better correlated to student graduation outcomes. Finally, moving on to this graph in the top right, this is an illustration of the relationship between college and career readiness, or CCR funding, in districts, and college readiness student outcomes, which are quantified here by the percent of students achieving what the state considers to be a rigorous SAT or ACT score. Here, we can observe a fairly linear relationship between the two variables. Districts spending more on CCR programming had better outcomes in standardized college testing. We can also refer down to the previous graph and see the relationship with graduation rates as well. They are mostly high for this group of districts. Notice the green coloration. So, I hope you found the information in this video interesting and enlightening. The full dashboards and additional written information are available on our website, where you can also interact fully with each dashboard yourself. Thank you.